Hey y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. I tried watching back my collective coffee from last night and I didn't realize that there was no sound, and I just realized up here there's a little microphone icon and apparently it was off. So I'm going to redo that. This is a collective coffee mostly about what is going on in the United States right now. I do have some connections to be made for folks to understand what's going on, what we're going to be living through and witnessing, but mostly living through if you're here in the United States. So there's this redistribution of wealth. Everyone is talking right now about EBT and about what that's going to do. I mean, there's so much conversation about everything right now, as there should be. There's a lot going on, and I'm sorry I haven't been here for collective coffees. People haven't been watching them, but I do need to be making them. So, as you know, come November 1st, EBT will not be issued to people. It is about how many million? Like 40 something million people, I think. 41.7 million people, or 12.3% of the US population, receive SNAP. A lot of those are kids, right? A lot of those are, single family homes with children, disabled families, people who work full time, still need to get benefits, right? I've been reading some of the comments on some of these TikToks, and honestly, I'm so disappointed in humanity here in the United States. Americans are fucking gross. But anyway, there's a few things happening. There's like this global shift. Okay, do you guys remember back in 2020 when I'm so annoyed that last night was muted. Maybe like in the midst of COVID, but it was definitely after the quarantine part. Everyone in the world, like all the world governments, were all doing the same slogan, which was "Build Back Better." Build back better, build back better. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm an educated person who can see patterns, and I believe there was something in that vaccine that made people more docile, more apathetic to other things. I have talked to a few friends who got it and asked them if they noticed any changes in their bodies. And I have heard a lot of selfishness. I did not get it. A lot of selfishness, more anger, and more fog is what I've heard. I've also witnessed that. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about the vaccine. I'm here to talk about the way the government uses certain tactics against the people. And I think if you don't get anything else from this conversation, in particular, please understand that the government does not have your best interest at heart, okay? I think it's pretty obvious, but I think there are plenty of people who still believe that, like I saw someone say, oh, cutting EBT, Trump is about to make us all millionaires. False. Trump is trying to kill people. So what cutting EBT is going to do is it's going to make food scarcity a reality. Not only for people who are receiving EBT or who would have received EBT, but for everyone. There's going to be a lot more waste because people are not going to be able to buy. The grocery stores also get a cut of EBT, not to mention taxes. EBT is still taxed. So there's going to be this economy that we find ourselves in is going to be even more fucked up. Things are going to be harder to get. Do what you will with that information. If you have the ability to, sustain a pantry for yourself, for your families, then I would recommend doing so without being hoarding about it, right? If there are ways that you can give back to your community, whether you want to start a Food Not Bombs or just put up a food shelf in your front part, I think I'm going to do a food shelf and try and keep it stocked weekly. I don't know if I really have the money, but I think I can make the money happen. I like to give back. So for me, what that looks like is probably getting a shelf and putting ramen or some canned food or, tuna, things like that, tuna packets. The high schoolers, I was talking to 2 high schoolers yesterday, and I asked them, they're Native, and I asked them if their families were going to be affected by this, and they said yes. And I'd already do the mutual aid. I'm happy that I've gotten to a point with some of the high schoolers where they feel comfortable knocking on my door. That was yesterday. I was in a meeting with the college at the time, but I still was like, yeah, let me open things up for you. And they got to do their little shopping. I do think that they're probably using this as an opportunity to sell things, but in this time, I'm not really concerned with it. I think that's okay for me. If you want to turn a profit on some of the things, I get them for free for the most part. Baby daddy gives me a lot of stuff, so it's okay. Like keychains and other stuff, school supplies, things like that. If they need them or if they need to make money off of them, it's whatever. So the poor are going to be getting poorer. Right now we're living through this redistribution of wealth. A lot of people have been talking, QAnoners, specifically Trumpers, have been talking in the past few years about this Jessera or Nessera, which is this shifting into a different kind of currency, whether it's social credit or not. UK is currently making moves to make their residents or their citizens have a microchip, which is going to lead to a social credit score, which China already has. And the United States, social media has always been the gathering of the information to how to create a social credit score. So a social credit score is each of us are going to get like a barcode, and if this is the world that we're going to allow to happen, right? And every decision that we make, every time we do something wrong, every time we speed, Google a couple years ago started mapping our speed if you're using Google Maps, and even if you're not, the permissions probably are already doing that. So Google has been gathering that data. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything has been gathering data. Metadata is what it's called, on each of our behavior, our beliefs, the things that we, it's not only a marketing tool, it's also a social credit tool. Systemic racism is at the center of this, right? Because a lot of people who are already ousted by this system, black folks, trans folks, brown folks, indigenous folks, immigrants, women, children with disabilities, people with disabilities, LGBTQ, people who are not Christian, who else? Poor people as a whole. Understanding that this system needs those differences to keep us at each other, right? So what's happening with this redistribution of wealth is the EBT is being cut, the Medicaid is being cut, and I heard that they're going after SSI next, which is a lot of poor elders, poor older folks. Not even poor. I think old. Once you hit retirement, you receive SSI. I'm not sure. I'm not there. But we know that ICE is getting, I think it's like $1,500 per head, so $1,500 per person that they are rounding up, based on only skin color. So ICE is getting paid money. Where is this money coming from? Argentina is being bailed out of what? If you don't know, there was a migration of Nazis who went to Argentina post World War II. And so this what we're experiencing is centuries of reptilian overlords. I don't believe that these people are human. I believe at one point, I don't believe these are humans. I mean, that's my personal belief. I don't care what you believe. Regardless what you believe they are, I mean, the only reason I know that, I mean, at least they're soulless, right? Because I have a soul. My soul is intact. And I would never be able to carry out this kind of trauma or atrocity that we're witnessing. And I think we've been desensitized, and I believe that was also probably a part of that fog within the vaccine. I feel like they knew that they were going to be carrying this stuff out, so they had to do something to pacify the people, right? Insert COVID. I mean, that was the first global pandemic we've all experienced, and I think we've all created like a trauma bond with COVID where we don't even like acknowledge that it happened at this point in time, and it was only like 5 years ago. I was in that college meeting yesterday, and one of the women said, like, we're still recovering from COVID, believe it or not. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That was a complete overhaul of society at a global scale, right? We have the United States government giving at least $40 billion to Argentina, hundreds of billions to Israel, which are not countries that we live in. This is the United States. So we are paying taxes on everything we buy, and that money is being used in other countries for white supremacists, for Zionists. But going back to ICE, I want to talk about generational wealth. So these people are already people who have historically racist family lines, okay? They come from, for the most part, I mean, of course, I'm sure there's plenty of new gen racists, right? But we have KKK, we have people who are in the IOF who are also ICE. There's like 10 million U.S., Israel, what's that word? Dual citizenships. So we have straight up Nazis, we have Oath Keepers, we have Jan Sixers, which are really stupid people, all participating in this initiative that is labeled ICE, okay? So money is being cut from all of these social services, and it's being given to people to round up the people who may or may not have been using social services. A lot of immigrants do not use social services because they work their asses off, okay? And they just don't have access to it either. So poor white folks are the largest demographic of people who receive EBT, and a lot of them voted for Trump. I don't have the statistics, but if you rub your eyes and pay attention, you will understand that is the truth. So we are living through this giant redistribution of wealth. At the same time, at a global scale, the US dollar does not hold as much value as it used to. It is not the main currency for a lot of these other big countries. That is an initiative called BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS is an acronym. And they have come together to create their own currency. I don't know if that's been initiated yet, but they came together to decenter the US dollar in the past few years. So what can you do? We can only control ourselves, but we can also support the people around us. I was looking into how to start a Food Not Bombs, and it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of other people. It takes transportation, and I don't have the means for any of that at this point in time. I do live in a community with a lot of churches, so I'm hoping that the churches are going to help pick up the slack. I do know that there are already initiatives. I do live in a small town, but this small town does only have one grocery store, and it also supports surrounding areas, like people on the res. Yes, the res has their own stuff, but people on the res come here into this town to work, things like that. So I think it's important for everyone to do your own risk assessment. Think about where you live. Think about the demographics, the population. Think about what this is going to look like for your area and the ways that you can contribute to make sure that the most vulnerable in your community are continuing to be able to eat. Food is a human right. It is a necessity for making our bodies work. These powers know that. United States and Israel are the only two countries of the 190 or so countries on this planet who have decided that human rights do not include food, that food is not a human right. It is something to be used as a tool for control. And if you've been watching Palestine, then you know that the means of production are being held, and a wall will keep things out. Okay? Get ready for a tough winter. I would say start looking into alternatives in case the power grids start to go down. Regardless of what you speculate it to be, whether it's an attack from within or attack from outside, remember that winter is a really easy time to go after people, because weather itself is used as a weapon. Okay? Get extra blankets. I mean, I've been telling you guys about this for a couple years, okay? But we're really, really here now. And I think Americans have a really hard time as a whole, because of the neoliberal society, because of the narcissistic society in which we live. We have a hard time. There's like this invincibility complex, which I'm pretty sure I made a video about. White folks especially, because of white privilege, have a hard time with thinking that they're gonna have to struggle, right? Like, I can't even believe, like, the audacity, right? Whereas everything that you have, or we have, or I have as well, has been built on the backs of others who have experienced these struggles for generations. So, in a way, it could be our karma. It could be karmic justice, but because it's coming at the hands of evil, I don't consider it that. So, just a heads up, I have a son who has a very strict diet in the ways in which autistic kids will only eat certain food. So I did go ahead and get some things that we can eat. I don't have enough to get us through, a year by any means, but I think that pantries have become a thing of the past because of the economy. So if you have the means to stock up a little bit without, without being selfish about it. I just know that if my son is not able to get the food that he will eat, he won't eat at all. And so I have to make sure that we have the safe foods for him. So again, do your own risk assessment. Do your part in understanding what you need, how you're going to be affected, how your community is going to be affected. Talk to your neighbors. Try to collaborate or come up with ideas. There are things we can do. Again, we need to organize locally while we network globally. And use your money wisely. I wouldn't use money at this time to, buy things that can't be, but again, do your own risk assessment. If you need that purse, then whatever, by all means, get that purse, and whatever it is. But I think we are going to be coming into some tough times. I think a lot of people are speculating that food EBT will never come back, and I think we really need to brace ourselves for the inevitable with this administration, which is death and destruction, violence. A lot of people are talking about how he's trying to egg people on so that people do have violent reactions, which they are. I mean, you take food away from people, it's survival of the fittest. People are going to do what they need to do to survive. We need food to survive. There's a lot of conversations about people who work at grocery stores, like, did you see them steal that? No, you didn't, right? I don't know what managers are telling people. Again, I live in a community with one grocery store. Okay, we have Dollar Generals, and like dollar stores with also like frozen food. I mean, you know, junk food, whatever they have. But there's only one grocery store, so for us, it's an interesting space. Again, do your own risk assessment. Figure out what it is that your family is going to need and that your community is going to need. Don't be selfish if you can help it. You know, $20 a week. Well, that's kind of a lot, but that's what I'm gonna go for, is $20 a week to stock a food shelf. You know, ramen, those instant mashed potatoes, chips, food, right? Of course, it's not going to be the best canned food as well. Or if you can get food from a food pantry and repurpose that, maybe go through what you already have. If you haven't eaten it, pass it along, right? We're coming up in these times, so I would expect the power grid to go down in the winter at some point. I see that happening after Christmas because they're gonna want to, they being the powers that be, they're gonna want to maintain enough normalcy for everyone else who isn't on EBT so that they can still meet their quarter goals, and Christmas and the holiday season are obviously. So I can see the power grid going down after that, in the winter. So January, February, probably January. It's just a hypothetical hypothesis, but again, weather is a weapon. Last year, was it Rockefeller or Rothschild? Either one. They're both evil. But one of them said that billions, with a B, of the human population, I think it was like 25 billion, were going to die this year. So these are the ways in which they are pulling out those stops. Eugenics is a practice in reducing the population of people that are not like you. So brown people, black people, obviously. In this country, these maggots have made it very clear that the United States is they believe the United States is a white country. So working alongside Israel and Argentina, now we understand that those are literal Nazis, geriatric too, like those are boomers, like those are old fuckers, like the OGs of evil, right? So when you have people participating in multiple genocide, it's just such an interesting contradiction too, because it's like, when did the Nazis and the Jewish, but it's not Jewish folks, it's Zionists, but they're using Judaism as a front to gain sympathy. So pay attention to things. Also want to caution you, if you are feeling overwhelmed by the state of the world, take time to take care of yourself, educate yourself on the reality, but don't disengage apathetically or ignorantly or consider the reality of the world toxic. This is the reality that we find ourselves in, and I believe we are all on this planet to do something about it. So what can you do? Okay? Have a good one.